In this video we are going to talk about 10 rich people who lost all their wealth. Yachts worth millions of dollars, residences worth millions of dollars, private jets, fleets of automobiles, and more. These men and women had it all and were worth billions of dollars. However, a sequence of poor judgments, terrible luck, and other things caused them to lose everything, and in a remarkable turn of events, these 0.001% became the 99% of the population. These are the billionaires who went bankrupt and lost everything they had worked for. Number 10. Huang Wenji. Huang Wenji is the chairman of China Jiqing Holdings, a Hong Kong-based umbrella manufacturing firm in which he and his wife Chen Jiao possess a 75% stake. Huang Wenji and Chen Jiao are also the founders of the company. The stock of his company plunged by nearly 91% in just 2 days during a recent stock market downturn, wiping out his personal wealth of $1.9 billion in just 2 days. Because of the severe volatility of the Hong Kong stock market, several corporations have seen their market capitalizations plummet by billions of dollars. Number 9. Alberto Villar. Alberto Villar is a former investment manager located in the United States who amassed billions of dollars in profits through his investment company, Amerindo Investment Advisors. Villar, along with his business partner Gary Tanaka, amassed a sizable fortune over the course of several decades. Villar's company had an estimated net value of $1 billion at the height of its success. However, in 2000, a dramatic stock market sell-off had a negative impact on both his personal financial situation and the financial situation of his company. Then, in 2005, Villar and Tanaka were arrested on allegations of securities fraud, and after 3 years on the run, both were found guilty of money laundering, wire fraud, and stock fraud in connection with the investigations. Currently, he is serving a 10-year sentence in prison for his crimes. Number 8. Adolf Merkel. Adolf Merkel was previously considered one of Germany's wealthiest individuals, with a personal fortune estimated to be worth over $12.8 billion. Merkel, like only a few other people on this list, was severely harmed by the credit crisis of 2008, during which he lost almost $3.6 billion. Despite the significant loss, he managed to maintain his position as one of the top 5 wealthiest people in Germany. Nonetheless, by the end of 2008, his investment firm, VEM, was facing a significant liquidity crisis and had recorded losses of $6 billion. In order to make amends, Merkel took a massive risk by making a series of dubious investments, which ultimately resulted in him losing even more money. Merkel tragically terminated his life by hurling himself in front of a train after he had lost practically everything. Number 7. Vijay Mallya. Vijay Mallya is an Indian businessman and former billionaire who is currently the subject of an extradition request from the United Kingdom to India on charges of large-scale financial fraud. Mallya, dubbed the King of Good Times, rose to become India's wealthiest liquor tycoon after taking over his father's mid-sized company when he was just 28 years old. He grew that company into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, amassing a personal wealth of $1.5 billion in the process. His financial difficulties began when the amount of debt owed to him by his airline, Kingfisher Airlines, began to increase. He was compelled to resign as chairman of United Spirits after his majority interest in the company was dissolved. Mallya departed India in order to seek asylum in the United Kingdom, where he accumulated millions of dollars in debt. Mallya went from being a billionaire to being a criminal in a short period of time. Number 6. Sean Quinn. During the Great Recession of 2008, numerous businesses went out of business and affluent individuals went bankrupt. One of those wealthy individuals was Sean Quinn, who was formerly the richest person in Ireland, with a net worth of over $6 billion in 2005. With the assistance of his holding company, Quinn Group, he was able to acquire shares in a number of global corporations, notably Bupa Ireland and Anglo-Irish Bank. Number 5. Jocelyn Wildenstein. Jocelyn Wildenstein was formerly valued at billions of dollars, but she is now worth significantly less in terms of money. In May 2018, the socialite and former wife of the late wealthy art dealer Alec Wildenstein filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection with the United States Bankruptcy Court in New York City. She stated in the petition that she had no monthly income, and that she was able to make ends meet on $900 in Social Security payments and support from friends and family members. She claims that a shoddy divorce settlement is to blame for the majority of her financial woes. Wildenstein told the New York Post that, despite spending the majority of the $2.5 billion she received as part of the divorce settlement, she was promised considerably more. A picture by Diego Velázquez that turned out to be a counterfeit, and another by Paul Cézanne that sold for a quarter of what it was originally evaluated at, were among the items she received as part of the settlement. Former businesswoman Carly Fiorina told the New York Post in May 2018 that she is on the search for a top lawyer who can help her obtain all she believes she is supposed to have for her lifetime. Number 4. Elizabeth Holmes. Elizabeth Holmes was once hailed as a rising IT star in Silicon Valley. Her blood testing company, Theranos, gained popularity in the early 2000s as a promising investment opportunity. The firm promised to dramatically revolutionize how people are diagnosed for and treated for diseases. By the end of 2004, the company had raised around $6 million, with several investors having close personal relationships to Holmes. As the buzz about Theranos grew, so did concerns about the company's business practices and regulatory compliance. The FDA was contacted in 2012 when Holmes tried to persuade Lieutenant Colonel David Shoemaker to allow a military trial. Holmes had already warned the FDA. Then the CMS investigated the organization. They were told the equipment was still in early development. Despite one FDA approval, the company's validity was questioned by the press. Safeway, Walgreens, and the FDA had all dropped Theranos by November 2015. In 2016, the CMS decided that Theranos tests could jeopardize patient safety. It closed its doors in September 2018 after numerous lawsuits, layoffs, and a federal accusation of massive fraud by Holmes. After that, Holmes gave up control of Theranos and agreed to pay a $500,000 fine to settle SEC charges. In the inquiry, the DOJ charged Holmes and her ex-partner Sunny Balwani with wire fraud. The trial is set to begin in August 2020, with Holmes charged separately from Balwani. Number 3. Björgólfur Gudmundsson. Björgólfur Gudmundsson, an Icelandic tycoon, built his money in the brewing sector, according to Forbes. He also served as the owner of the West Ham United football team in the United Kingdom. However, in 2009, the man who was previously Iceland's second richest man declared bankruptcy, ending his reign as the country's second richest man. It was a hefty $759 million debt that he sought bankruptcy protection for in his application. During that time period, it was the most significant bankruptcy filing in Iceland's history. A large part of the reason for Gudmundsson's fall from grace was the deterioration of the Icelandic economy during the period of the global recession. As a result of the collapse of Icelandic bank Landsbanki in October 2008, Gudmundsson and his son, Björgólfur Thor Gudmundsson, were both big stockholders in that institution. When Gudmundsson declared bankruptcy in December of the same year, Forbes reduced the billionaire's net worth from $1.2 billion to zero, according to the publication. His son's position on the Forbes list began to dwindle, until he eventually slipped off completely. Thor Gudmundsson, on the other hand, has now recouped a substantial amount of his money in what Forbes has referred to as a crazy comeback. Uncertainty surrounds whether or not his father has enjoyed similar good success in the recent past. Number 2. Ike Batista. Ike Batista had ambitions to become the richest man on the planet at one point in his life. The collapse of his once thriving oil company, OGX, in 2013 brought those goals crumbling down with them. According to the BBC, the self-made billionaire was well known for his extravagant lifestyle, which served as an example for younger Brazilian generations. Batista has an estimated net worth of $30 billion in 2012, making him the seventh richest person in the planet at the time. However, when Batista's oil company was unable to satisfy demand and the Brazilian economy began to deteriorate, he was forced to file for bankruptcy protection in 2013. Batista was arrested in January 2017 and charged with money laundering and corruption after authorities began probing Brazil's biggest corporations and why they had dropped so swiftly. In July 2018, he was found guilty of bribing former Rio de Janeiro Governor Sergio Cabral and sentenced to 30 years in jail. On March 24, 2020, it was announced that Batista had reached a settlement with Brazilian authorities and that he would serve 4 years in prison, pay back $160 million, and cooperate with prosecutors in the process. Number 1. Alan Stanford. Robert Alan Stanford is a former wealthy investor who has been sentenced to 110 years in prison for huge financial fraud. He led the defunct Stanford Financial Group. Stanford International Bank, one of its subsidiaries, claimed to manage roughly $8.5 billion in assets for 30,000 clients in 136 countries. In 2009, the SEC charged Alan Stanford and his company with fraud for fraudulently marketing $8 billion in high-yield certificates of deposit in a large Ponzi scheme. In June 2009, he was charged with mail-and-wire fraud, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.